Good afternoon, boys and girls. How are you today? Today, we're going to be looking at the last lesson when dealing with solid shapes. We have already looked at what are solid shapes, the types of solid shapes, the properties of solid shapes, and now today we're going to be looking at nets for building 3D shapes or solid shapes. Now, before we go into our lesson, I have a very short video for you to look at. And as soon as you finish looking at that, then we're gonna go into our lesson.
Let's take a cube and dissect it. We will keep this one as the reference. Take another cube exactly like this one and dissect it. By dissect, I mean that we will open the cube up along its edges. And what will we get if we open it up? Let's see. We can open the top face first. This looks like a box with its top face open. Then we can open the green face in the front. Then we drop the orange and the blue faces on the right. The faces that remain are the face to the left and the face behind. Next, we can drop the left face to the left, and then we drop the only remaining face behind. Now we have completely opened up the cube along its edges to get a two-dimensional shape like this. But what is this? What is it called? This is called the net of the solid. In this case, it's the net of a cube. A net is a diagram which shows what the solid will look like when it is opened along its edges and laid flat.
Good, so I would have just shown you a video and I would like you to discuss and talk about what you would have just seen.
I would have seen a video about geometry net.
Yes, we would have been looking at geometry nets. Now for the past weeks or so, we would have been looking at solid shapes, right?
Yeah.
And now geometry nets now has a lot to do with the solid shapes. Now we all know that solid shapes are what kind of shapes?
Three-dimensional.
Three-dimensional shapes. Very good. They are three-dimensional shapes, right? Now geometry nets basically, right, has to do with the two-dimensional form of the solid shapes. What does it have to do with?
A two-dimensional form of a solid shape.
Yes, the two-dimensional forms of solid shapes. Alright? Good. Now, I want you to tell me, yes, we're looking at geometry nets, but I want you to tell me what are geometry nets.
Geometry net is a two-dimensional shape that can be folded to form a three-dimensional shape.
Yes, very good. So that's exactly what would have what geometry net is, and that is exactly what we use it for. All right, very good. That's very smart of you, right? And if you look on the chart here, it says a geometry net is a two-dimensional shape that can be folded to form a three-dimensional shape or a solid. All right. So, for example, we have a cube, right? We can know that it has three dimension because it has what?
Side,
No. It has height,
width,
width,
and breadth.
and breadth. Width and breadth, or width and what? What's the next one? Come on, think. It's length,
Width and
Width.
height.
and height. Yes, those are the three dimensions. All right. Yes, those are the three dimensions. We have length, we have width, and we have height. All right. Good. So what is the name of this solid shape that we're looking at? What is this?
Cube.
This is the cube, right? We could see the face, we could see the vortex, we could see the edges, right? Good. Now, we've seen the cube, right? Now, let us look at this here now, right? Let us look at this here. Is this three-dimensional or two-dimensional?
Two-dimensional.
It's what?
two-dimensional.
It's two-dimensional. Alright? Yes, it's two-dimensional, right? And I want you to observe something here, right? I want you to observe something. So look at this. It's no way close to being a three-dimensional shape, but I want you to look at this here now, right? So I'm gonna fold this part here. Then I'm gonna bring it like this here. Is it a three-dimensional shape yet?
No.
I'm gonna fold it like this here. Is it looking like a three-dimensional shape more now?
No.
I'm gonna bring up this end. And I'm going to bring up this end here. Is it a three-dimensional shape now?
Yes.
What three-dimensional shape does this look like?
A cube.
A cube, right? So we could safely say that this here is the net for what?
A cube.
This here is the net for a cube, all right? Good. So now we're gonna do an activity together, whereas you're gonna draw the net for a shape, and you're gonna cut it out, and then we're gonna see what shape you made, right? Good. Good. So what shape is that you would have made there?
A cuboid.
Good.
A cube.
Cuboid?
A cube.
Yeah, you would have made a cube, right? Good. Can you identify the parts for me?
These are the face.
Mm-hmm.
These are the edges. And these are the vertices.
Right? Now, I'm gonna correct you there. It's this and not these, right? So, yeah, man, it's done well. Alright? Good. So now you would have drawn your nets, you would have cut it out, you would have pasted it together to form the solid shapes, right? And now that we've come to the end of our lesson, we're gonna just do a short recaption of what we did. Alright? So a net is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional figure that is unfolded along its edges so that each figure is shown in two dimensions. So it simply means that, what this simply means is that when you open a three-dimensional shape, right, like when you open the sides and so on, it will form a two-dimensional shape, right?
Yes.
Good. And then a net is a pattern made when the surface of a three-dimensional figure is laid out, like I just said, right? Felt showing each face of the figure. And a solid may have different nets. Alright? So there's no one particular way. For example, for the cube and the cuboid, right? There's just not one way alone to do the nets, right? For the one that we looked at was the T. Alright, then you can have one looking like the plus sign, right? And so much different other shapes that you can look at, right? So, and that will be your homework, is to, I want you to get the different type of nets for a cube and cuboid.